afternoon yesterday. I was in a place called Tigronoin in Newcastle here in Galway City. It's a house named after Ronan Dooley, who was diagnosed as autistic 40 years ago, and his parents, Christy and Maisie, created a centre for autism all those years ago. It's quite incredible. Well, now it's been taken over by GAP, Galway Autism Partnership, which was set up by 5 very proactive parents who felt that they could help each other and their children. So they raised €70,000, they renovated the house, and they had it all done in just a few months. No state funding whatsoever. What happens in Tigronoin? Well, there are large session rooms for groups, there's a sensory room, there's a fully fitted kitchen for life skills training, there's a library and computer room. They use that for things like employment modelling, as well as sessions for adults and teens and young children. There's an enclosed outdoor garden for all ages. There are evening classes for parents and for teachers. They provide respite by engaging the children for a few hours when the club is open, and therefore the parents can get away for a few stress-free hours. And then during the school holidays they provide extensive respite for the parents. And it's also a place where the kids feel they belong. It's their very own club. And I first spoke to one of the GAP founding parents, Miriam Jennings.
Are a centre for anybody diagnosed with an ASD, an autism spectrum disorder. We had groups here this morning and they had their children aged 2. They were parents, they were brand new, newly diagnosed, entering this world of living with autism, huge amount of questions, right up until we have residents that come in here in their 60s and they have quite recently, probably not initially been diagnosed with autism, but would have been, diagnosed on the spectrum in the last decade. And they come and they take part in many of the workshops we have here. So we have everything in between. We service every end of the spectrum. We service people with extreme, complicated challenges and needs, where they need a huge amount of support and respite, right up to the other end, very extremely verbal, capable people that just need some social support.
One of the things that strikes me is that the children were very much like any other bunch of kids, yet they're on the autistic spectrum. And it seems almost as if they recognise in each other that they are similar, whereas they might feel dissimilar to some of the kids that they meet in regular school.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting to sit here week after week and watch these groups and watch them blossom and speaking to their facilitators. The one thing they say is the consistency of them attending these social groups are absolutely beneficial to the children and to their whole personal enhancement. And they do make friends, which, isn't associated with people with autism. You'll be told they're so socially isolated and communication and building relationships. But I think enough exposure and investment into these type of family support services and having them available, you can really see these personalities blossom, and you certainly cannot, put them under a certain type of a characteristic at all.
For the parents of the children, when they meet other parents, how does it help them to swap experiences?
I think it's hugely beneficial, and I know that myself as being a parent of children with autism. The social isolation when you receive a diagnosis of autism, and everyone within your community or maybe your friends base is getting on with their own children and getting on with life and the usual demands of school, and you find yourself living in a parallel world, and then to be involved with a community of people that just get it, and you can share experiences, you can pass tips and all this other stuff, so it's great.
Miriam, you mentioned you're the parent of autistic children. 3 autistic children?
That's correct, yes. I have 4 children in total, 4 boys, and I have 3 on the autism spectrum, all extremely different. I have twins that are 8.5, and I have a son turning 14.
Miriam, 3 children with autism. I mean, do you feel unlucky?
No, Pat, not at all. I think it's all relative. As I said, my boys have always been the way they are, and they have so many positives, and I think it's all relative. I meet people that find, would have what I would call a very neurotypical toddler that they find extremely challenging, and sometimes I have been in situations whereby I've been very thankful to have a non-verbal child, if that's appropriate to say, so I think it's all relative. I see people that find it extremely hard to cope with a neurotypical child. I see people that, including myself, that find it very hard to cope with an autistic child. But then the other side of it is occasionally, you know, my children will go in and have procedures in hospital that require general anaesthetic, and I see the other side of things. I see children that are long-term in hospital and, you know, dealing with physical illnesses and terminal illnesses, and I mean, I think they're amazing, you know, so I think I'm happy enough with my lot.
And you seem very reasonable at all stages, but do you ever have to lose the rag?
Oh, absolutely, and who doesn't? I mean, it's a great, we're like a boiling pot really, aren't we, like a pressure cooker, so yeah, I just have a good screech in the garden every now and again and shout, and it's all the same, nobody really takes any notice, they all just go, she's off again, but you know, again, coming back, my own mother had a good screech in the garden and we all ignored her too, so I think it's genetic, so the boys don't take any notice, they're none the worst of it, but I must say this journey has definitely given me a lot of patience, if anything.
What ambitions do you have for the lads?
My only ambition for my children, even if you could call it an ambition, is that they're always happy. I just always want them to be happy. When they're happy, they'll always be well, and that's all that matters to me. I don't have any ambitions for my children to be anything for me, just to be happy. If they're happy, we'll all be happy.
I'm just wondering about the prospects of self-sufficiency in time.
Again, it's something that is an area that I avoid exploring at times, because I certainly find living with autism, you can only live with it day to day. But I must say, watching the older children that come here and my experience in dealing with the groups and the people we get to know, it's an area that is not as daunting to me as it may have been perhaps 2 years ago. And if we can increase even what we're doing here and provide more opportunities for these children, I think they will find their own happiness and their own, perhaps maybe not be fully self-sufficient, but enough that we can all manage with.
How do you find the time? I mean, you're a photographer, you teach photography, you volunteer in all sorts of different ways, you run this place. How do you do it?
Well, with a lot of help. If our GAP coordinator heard me being accolated with running this place, I think she'd probably have something else to say, but there's always time in the day. My personal mantra is that I like to keep busy. I don't personally find for my own mental health, it's extremely important that I keep looking forward and finding things. I think it's a little bit genetic. My mother was the same. She was always busy, and I just find for my own personal growth and for my own managing my own mental health with living with autism, it's extremely important that I just keep focused and work on projects, and you know, being around the children and the community and the people we meet here, it's all extremely positive, and it's very easy to come here and spend time.
All right, Miriam, well, you've lots to do. Better let you go back, but thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Pat.
All right. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on a one-horse open sleigh.
Now, we've got three parents here, parents of autistic children. Fiona, first of all, your son Frank, how old is he?
He's 5 since June.
How long ago did you get a diagnosis?
Just 2 years ago, actually. He was 3.5.
So when you finally got the diagnosis, what was your reaction? I mean, was it relief that something was confirmed, or was it, oh no?
I think by the time we got the diagnosis, we were fairly sure it was autism. Yeah, in some respects, actually, having a diagnosis was a good thing. And autism is quite recognised in the educational system and the health system, so I suppose from that perspective, relief, yeah.
Obviously, you meet other parents here, and Frank gets to meet other children here. What has GAP done for you?
Oh, GAP is fantastic. I mean, I suppose it gives us respite when we have the clubs, and the summer clubs are absolutely fantastic, Easter clubs. It also gives Frank something for himself, really. You know, he has a club with his buddies that he goes to, and I suppose my other daughter, who's a typically developing child, has her things going on, and it's just lovely for him to have his thing going on, really. So I couldn't speak highly enough of them, Pat.
Do you ever say, why me?
Sometimes, yeah. It's difficult. It can be very difficult. But then why not, I suppose, either. It's another question we could ask.
Could have been something else, I suppose.
Absolutely. And we're very lucky, and Frank is a dote, and yeah.
Edel, now John is here today. How old is he? And you have a second child as well on the spectrum.
Yeah. We have our two youngest out of our 4 children have autism. John just turned 7 yesterday, and Dylan will be 11 in December. So it's quite a busy house. We have, as I said, autism one end of it, and we have teenage hormones the other, so busy
again, your reaction and the journey to a diagnosis. Was the second diagnosis easier based on the fact that you had experience of the first?
It's funny that way. I mean, I suppose we were more aware of the signs, and I had suspicions about John from when he was 14 months old, having another child on the spectrum. And I suppose we thought it would be a relief in one way, but it's a bit of both. I thought we would definitely cope a little bit better with the diagnosis, but then there's also the reality of now realising you have 2 children on the spectrum and 2 children who are going to need a lot more support and resources.
How different are they in terms of their position on the spectrum?
Well, I suppose the way I would describe it is they present with equal challenges and strengths. They both have developed the same type of learning disabilities under the spectrum, but each differently affected. John is quite high energy, full of beans all the time. Dylan is can be defensive to some sensory inputs, and would have quite low energy. But at the same time, Dylan is doing great. He is in his second year in mainstream with SNA support. He has been a great support to his little brother. So John is quite lucky in the fact that he has an older sibling on the spectrum, and he has 2 older siblings that aren't on the spectrum. So from that point of view, it's probably, I suppose, idealistic in one way for a young child like that he has that sibling support as well.
Now, do the lads know that they would be on the spectrum? I mean, do they have an understanding of what autism is or what it is to be categorised in that way?
Well, Dylan has, because I spoke to Dylan about being on the autism spectrum a couple of years ago, and the way I explained it to him was that the way that you find it hard to get the words, and the way certain noises and smells and things bother you, that's called autism. And all he said was like, oh, but it was kind of an of relief. Oh, there is a reason for the way I am. But he very much accepted it's just part of him, and he's got his own strengths. Our kids are very strong visually. They have a very good eye for small details, and they're very straight. Dylan will point things out to you very, straight. He wouldn't have the social cutoff to maybe not say something. He'll just be quite blunt and say it straight out. So you wouldn't want to be worried about hurt feelings. But he's a very affectionate, fun little boy, as is John.
What difference has gap made?
Well, like Fiona said, it's even getting that couple of hours break while we love our kids and we try very hard for them. It's important for us as parents to get a little bit of break and a bit of downtime. But you know that your child is going to a club where they're going to have fun, they have their friends, and it's their social part and their social outing, and they're playing with children who are on the spectrum who get them, and staff who have been well trained and know how to support them.
I was wondering about that, whether they relate better to people who are also on the spectrum than they might to other kids. Do they have a sense of, we're alike?
I think definitely so, and I even see that, I suppose, between our 2 boys. But it's a bit, for children on the spectrum, I think and adults, it's often like they've been born into a foreign culture, speaking a foreign language, and they have just a completely different way of thinking and looking at life. So, I suppose us as adults, we know how to relate to other people. So naturally, if they're playing with somebody who's from the same, almost, I suppose, cultural background, for want of a better description, somebody that gets them, they don't have to explain things. And you can see it the way the kids interact with each other. If a child is upset, the other children will pick up on it. But it's even from a parent point of view, the parent-to-parent support of, you don't have to explain to another parent about your child's behaviour. They just get it. And you're more likely at any of our family days or our outings, people aren't going to come up and give out about your child misbehaving. They're more likely to come up and say, well, do you need some help? Here, is there anything I can do? Can I carry your bag? Will I mind your other child while you're dealing with your child maybe having a meltdown? And that's hugely important to parents.
And Sheila, Morgan has a good voice, sang Jingle Bells.
I was shocked at that, though. That's one for the books, but
Really, because you didn't expect that he would...
No, I didn't think he'd do it at all, really. He's quiet enough, really. But I said, please do it. So he did a few, so...
Now, he's already a young man. His voice is broken. He's 15 years of age. What age was he when he was diagnosed?
He was diagnosed with autism when he was 10, but he was diagnosed first with a language delay. But I suppose it all started when he was small. He was slow to walk. Then he didn't talk till he was 5, so he went through the HSC and he had the speech therapy and stuff. And then we'll say he went to the developmental and all that. They always said, you know, there's something. So we went for years then through the HSC getting speech therapy and stuff. And as he was getting bigger, I suppose the gap was getting bigger. So it noticed more things. And it was like then he went to a language unit in a school in Renmore for 2 years. And he started talking after 3 months of going into the class. They had a speech therapist every day, so it was great.
So intensification does work?
Yeah. Like they were brilliant. And he was going up to the HSC then to get the speech therapy. So he got that help all along, we'll say, with that, which was great. But then I suppose when he got to nearly 10, it was like, there is something, and we knew it ourselves, like, and we kept saying it to them, they were going, no. So he's got Asperger's, which is high functioning autism. So like he does go to mainstream school, but he goes in and out of the ASD unit, which is brilliant, because the school is only new that he's in. So it's like, there's small classes anyways in them. There's only 6 in the unit, and they've done wonders with him, because I didn't know whether he'd be going mainstream in secondary, what would happen. But he's doing his junior cert this year now. So.
And what sort of subjects does he like?
He loves science and maths, so he does, and he likes a bit of history, so he does. But his teachers are very happy with him. They give him great support outside with resources and everything. They're amazing. Like they've brought him up to, being able to cope in the class, which is great.
And how is he socially with the other kids?
Well, before, he couldn't get a joke. He wasn't able to cope with things and wasn't great. But I suppose GAP came into that, been a social event going out. He lives for it every week. Like they have it today now, which is the main thing of his life. But that was the making of him, really, because he didn't really go out. He played with younger kids and stuff, but it was never anyone his age, because I suppose they don't get them at their age. Now, kids in school are great for them, they are great. But for, we'll say, outside school, he wouldn't have really had friends.
And what do you see in his future? Do you see maybe going to college doing science or mathematics? Is that where his talent lies?
Yeah, well, hopefully he's loads of things. He wants to be a train driver. He wants to be a rally driver. He wants to be different things every day. So hopefully that he does go on to 3rd level. It'd be great if he did. So what?
That's really good. What colour? Oh, what colour are they, John? Here's a lovely bed. Yes.
I can see myself on this other one.
Now, Mags McDonough is here with me as well. You're a facilitator, Mags.
Yes.
What do you do?
I facilitate the Wednesday after school club and the Saturday morning club. So I have 5 children coming in to me. The Wednesday they're 4 to 7. The Saturday will be 9, 10, 11, all with autism. So we just bring them in. We have great fun with them. I have a fantastic volunteers.
I saw you crawling around the floor, helping decorate the Christmas tree.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we're here for, is to get down and have fun with the children in a very safe environment. And again, it's about our volunteers. As Judy has said, we can't do this unless we have volunteers.
Well, I can tell you're a woman of good heart, but why do you do it?
I love what I do. I love the children coming in. I love when you open the door and they're like, Mags, and they're all just, and they run in the door, and that's my job done.
Mags, thank you.
Thank you.
Julie Breslin, you're coordinator here at GAP. What are the services that you offer?
The services that we offer are to families and individuals who are living with autism. We have almost 100 children, teens, young adults coming through the doors every week who are attending social and respite clubs. And those are services where they can come, have fun, do lots of different activities, and the parents and carers get to have those couple of hours break where they know their child is in a safe place. We also provide courses for parents who can come and attend some parenting programs which will help them support their child.
Now we're here in Gap building, I suppose. It's warm, it's well lit, so that means there are bills to be paid. So if people want to help, what do they do?
Absolutely. They can go onto our website, www.galwayautismpartnership.com. There is a I Donate page there to click on. We also have a text service. 365 days of the year, day or night, you can text the word blue to 50300 to donate just €4 to the charity. And all those €4 add up so much to help us every week.
That's it.